Is
Yeah.
it normal to feel like you're the narcissist after the relationship ends? Oh my gosh, yes. Do you want to start with that one?
Sure, I can start with that one. So, what I tell my clients is that when you're battling a narcissist, when you're in the full-blown relationship with a narcissist, you actually take on their characteristics. You inadvertently do this because you're in survival mode. You're battling a narcissist, and in order to fight the narcissist, you have to understand the narcissist and become like the narcissist. You have to show less emotion. You may find yourself lying. You might find yourself manipulating the narcissist, the way they manipulate you. But you're only doing these things out of sheer survival. Wouldn't you agree? Would you agree with that, Trey?
Yeah. Well, and I think they have you so convinced that you're the problem for so long. They tell you
Mm-hmm.
that, at least like some of like my top three phrases that I heard all the time from my ex was, I always have an attitude. I'm too sensitive. I'm too insecure. And so you kind of start to once you're told something long enough, you kind of start to believe it. And then it's like,
Yeah.
did I really cause all those fights? Like, did I really have the attitude that he said that I did? Like, was I really just insecure? Was I imposing my own insecurities onto this person? And there truly is like a spectrum. Like, I don't remember where I saw this, but I saw it where like after you leave a narcissist, you're so far over here, like on like the survivor side or the empath side, whatever you want to call it. And oftentimes after we leave, like it's very common to swing over into like the narcissistic tendencies because just like Kelley said, like there is that survival mode. So it's like you don't trust people. You think that everybody is a narcissist after this. And so you kind of get into this like where you're so walled and eventually you kind of swing back into, more of a normal balance. But I
You
don't
do
think I've
you do
coached.
recalibrate.
You do. And I don't think I've ever had a client that I do one on one coaching with that has not asked that same question to themselves.
It's amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
that this is one of those things too, why it's dangerous to call a narcissist out on being a narcissist. Because one of the first things they're gonna do is mess with your head, turn it around, because they twist everything around, call you the
Yep.
narcissist. And it really will mess with your head
Oh,
because
yeah.
we go to such extensive lengths to save and salvage the relationship that we will even take blame for their actions.
Oh, yeah.
And therefore, we'll even consider ourselves to be the narcissist just to make things better. And we'll basically we'll believe whatever they say.
For sure.
And yeah, we're very weak and vulnerable at the time.
Yeah.
So it's just really important to have a good support system around you, ideally some good coaching and therapy to remind you that you're not the narcissist. And Trey, what do they say about people who question whether or not they're the narcissist?
Yeah.
If you
If you are
actually
questioning that,
question it,
you're not one.
you're not the narcissist
Yep.
because narcissists aren't self-aware enough to ask that of themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got another one. So Ashley said, I would love
Okay.
y'all's tips for staying no contact. I live in a community where the narcissist lives too. So actually,
Mm,
it kind of is a great spinoff on what Kelley was just talking about, especially if you're in a smaller community or you're just in a community where you're likely to run into them. The first and foremost that I would do is get a support system, whether it's virtually, there's like Facebook groups, like Kelley actually runs a support group once a month on Sundays. Is it the last Sunday of every month that you do it?
it's usually the last Sunday of every month.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's a group
Mm-hmm.
that meets together once a month and just like shares their experiences if they want to. They don't have to. And there's guest speakers every time. And then, but just like surround yourself with people that you trust to just help hold you to that standard. Like I had a best friend of mine where I had three friends. I had one friend that never had been through this before, but was just incredibly understanding and kind of was one of those friends that told me what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I had another friend who had been through this before, so they were able to just validate a lot of my own feelings. And then I had one that had never been through it, didn't understand it, and was kind of one of those friends where they were trying to be helpful, but they didn't know how to be. And they were just kind of, at the point where they were like, wanting me to stop talking about them, which was valid, but I just kind of used their lack of education on this to my advantage, where I, told them, like, hey, don't allow me, like, you're right, don't allow me to talk about this person or talk to them again. Like, if I do, call me out. And so I would use that person and I would just call them anytime I needed a distraction, where we would literally like talk about anything but my ex. And then, and my last suggestion is to set up healthy distractions for yourself. Again, having like technology with our phones and stuff is great, but it's also like, it's temptation literally in our hands. So when you feel yourself getting to that point, like that's when I would start to work on like my wellness wheel practice, where it's like, okay, what's an area of self-care that I can do to just distract myself? Go for a walk, go for a drive, going for it. Well, maybe not right now. Mm-hmm. Gas is crazy expensive, but just like find something, get off of your phone, go do the dishes, go do the laundry, clean the floors, like go again, call a friend, that you haven't talked to in a while. Just find yourself some healthy distractions so that way you don't. And as far as if you ever run into them in public, can you give that advice that you gave me a long time ago about the practicing the scenario? Because that literally was such sound advice that you gave me.
Okay, wait, remind me.
You told me about like, because I don't know if you remember, but I was really struggling about like, I wanted to go like out to the gay bars and stuff. And I was like, what if I run into him? And you were like, practice that scenario in your head.
Oh,
do you remember?
Oh, practice the scenario. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. That is absolutely key. Understanding how to practice restraint and understanding how to be best prepared. It's like any situation you do in your life. It's called preparation. It's called practice. So you actually practice that scenario in your mind, what you would do if you were to bump into that person. I'm so sorry. Like sometimes did I say
no,
more
that
than
was,
that?
No, that was like it, but it's so powerful because when you do that and you practice that scenario in your mind's eye, if it ever is to happen, it's not the first time that it happened. You've already been through this. You were just
right.
And that's why it's like, if you think that you were potentially going to run into them, do exactly what Kelley says. Like literally sit down, imagine running into them in the grocery store, and play out as many different scenarios as you can. What if they say something? What if they don't? Do I respond? What if I don't respond? And like literally just sit there for a while and just roadmap like all the different, because unfortunately with narcissists, it's like there's no guaranteed reaction, but there's a lot of different possible reactions. So just prepare yourself for whichever one that it is and practice it.
I'm going to say one other thing about that. After I say hello to Mr. Lee Hammock. Hello,
hey, Lee.
Thank you for joining.
I have Carly in mine too. Hi, Carly.
And Carly, love you too, sweethearts. Thank you for popping in and saying hi. Really appreciate it. We love the support. Thank you so much. So one other thing I just wanted to say about that practicing scenario is that you can practice that kind of like preparation and restraint in other scenarios in your life. Like, for example, road rage. Road rage is a natural reaction for all of us, but it can be controlled. So when you're in a situation like road rage, I want you to stop and I want you to think about this is just me and a practicing scenario. And when that happens, you think for a second, why am I feeling this way? What actually might be occurring with this other person in their life that maybe they cut you off? Okay. Maybe they're just coming from a funeral. Maybe they just got let go from work. Maybe they just weren't thinking and they cut you off, whatever it may be. If you put yourself in the other person's shoes, this will help you practice restraint and allow you to think and have a different perspective on the situation. And that is just one example of how you can practice. And I do say they're the best quality you can have. One of the best qualities is restraint. So when you do bump into that that narcissist, um, having restraint is going to be your biggest strength, because you're going to
Yeah.
be able to be calm and collected and not let anything they say roll it back. Ideally, you don't even speak to them. There's really no reason, unless you have children,
Yeah.
there's no
Unless you
reason
have
to
children.
even
Yeah.
speak to them.
And even then, if you have
Um,
children, very limited.
Very limited, low, we call it low contact.
Low contact. Yeah.
Um,
I
so
got
we hope that helps. Got some more comments. How are you doing on your side?
I do too. I got one. This is good. What do you do if you don't have anyone to call? I think that's why like these social media groups are like just
Mm-hmm.
being on social media and connecting to people through these platforms is really great because it was eye
Yep.
opening for me to see how many people have gone through almost identical experiences that I went through. And honestly, some of the best friends that I have in my life now, I've never met in person. Like Kelley and I have met one time in person, and we talked all the
Yep.
time. For like literally, we called each other almost daily at one point. Where we were just checking in with each other, and then
Exactly.
I know you got to be a little careful with people online and stuff, um, but connecting with that, I think is really good. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that's probably one of my biggest ones. But do you have any other ones too?
Well, honestly, so people ask what I did when I was first starting out, like with my healing and everything. There was a Facebook group that I really loved, and that Facebook group is called. It's still around. It's a long name, but it's called "Living with and Divorcing a Covert Narcissist." And I will tell you, you have to ask to join and explain why you want to join. These groups, they vet you, and then once you are accepted, my recommendation is start posting. Post anything you're feeling. Post, for example, I don't have anybody to talk to. I'm going through a hard time right now. This is what my narcissist is. Or you can even leave it just at that. I guarantee you're going to get 20 responses. And
Oh
granted,
yeah,
speaking of vetting, you'll want to vet them, but start a dialogue. It takes time. Trey and I didn't just bump into each other and magically become friends. Actually, the funny story about that is I DM'd him and I said, "Will you be my new gay best friend?" And he said,
she did.
"Absolutely." So I got
It's like
lucky. I got lucky. I got lucky. But
she's like, I'm in
it
the
takes
market.
effort. I know. Are you in the market for a new best friend? Um, I did. I was a little bit silly there. But there's if you Facebook search, the narcissistic abuse support groups, you're going to find some, and it takes
Hmm.
effort. Healing takes effort. It takes
A
effort.
lot of effort.
If you want to heal, kind of like Trey's coaching does, you've got your like 6 week course kind of thing, right? Isn't that what
Hmm.
you say? This is what we believe. It takes time. It might take you a year and a half, whatever, to like heal. And I'm not saying perfectly healed, but maybe get
Right.
to a point of feeling better. But you can expedite that healing when you put in the work. I've got a 4-step plan. Trey's got his plans. Each of these, if you put work into them, you're going to expedite your healing. Do you want to sit around or do you want to put in the work? You put in the
Right.
work, what you put in is what you're going to get out of it.
Yeah, I agree.
And
100%.
you're going to start to feel like a human being again. What you're going to be able to do? You're going to be able to find your identity again, because we lose our identity, we lose ourselves. And
Hmm.
I know you want to find that amazing. You're never going to be the person you once were. You're going to be a better version than you've ever thought. It's going to be a less naive version. You're not going to be that naive person you once were.
Yeah.
You are going to be the stronger, more, um, you're going to be a slightly edgier person. You're going to have an
Yeah.
edge to you because you've been through it. You've been through some
Yeah.
shit. But it is such an incredible version of yourself, and it's just waiting for you if you put in the work. By the
Yeah.
way, somebody messaged, and I have neglected to comment on it yet. And Michelle says, I need help. I don't know how to let go. I hope a lot of
Mm.
what we've been saying has been helpful to you, Michelle. Um, and of course, I'm going to plug both Trey and I are coaches and mentors, and you can find information for both of us. We support each other. We support our fellow coaches and mentors. We each have different styles, and just like
Yeah.
finding your right therapist, you got to find your right coach. So that's why we go into lives. You get a feeling of kind of a vibe of who we are,
Yeah.
as coaches. But we are here for you, and we have that service, and we each have a passion for helping people. So that is also on top of finding your survivor group, your community, your fellowship. We highly recommend that you have a coach during this healing portion, your healing journey. We are here to handhold you during your healing
Yeah.
journey.
Absolutely. Y'all are asking some really great questions today. So, getting my stuff from my house tomorrow. My ex is a narcissist. How should I handle that situation? Um, I like first and foremost, I would not go alone. I would have somebody with me if I was in that situation. That would probably be my first and foremost. Because here's the thing with narcissists too.
Yeah.
If you've noticed like their pattern, they have what's called the representative. They represent themselves a certain way around other people than they do around you. So if you bring someone with you, most likely they're not going to make a massive scene if somebody else is there with you because that looks bad on them. So it's kind of almost like beating them to the punch, and they'll probably ask like, oh, why would you feel like you need to do this and blah, 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 blah. And, they're going to probably more play like the victim card, like why would you think you would need to bring somebody, but it's going to avert a lot of different potential conversations and potential conflict just by having someone there. Like for me, when I was kicking my ex out, I didn't have to get my stuff out. He had to get his out. My dad was there. And again, he
Mm.
represented himself a totally different way. Like he literally left after this huge scene. And when he came back, all of a sudden my dad was there. And I literally saw a switch in his face. Like he walked in with that like black eyed look and all this stuff. And then he looked up and he saw my dad. And it was instantly like, it was almost like he straightened up. And I was like, God. So that would be one thing that I would do. Bring a buddy. I don't know if you have anything to add to that too.
So this is pretty bad, but I didn't hear the question. What was the
Oh,
question?
so the question was they're getting their stuff out of their house tomorrow. Their ex is a narcissist, so how should I handle that situation?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're going to act totally different if you have a third party there. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the ex is coming to get the stuff. Was that?
No, they're going back to their house to get
Oh,
this
they're
stuff.
going back to get their
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Yeah, you want to just do
Hi,
that as
Anna.
quickly and efficiently as possible. Yes. Hi,
Mm-hmm.
Anna.
Yeah, Anna had a good point too. Either
And
don't go alone or just send someone else to get your stuff. That'll throw them for a loop. Have somebody else go get it.
yeah, really, they're waiting to
That'll
see
throw them for a loop.
you. They're waiting to
Yep.
see you. But definitely have a third party there. Absolutely. Um, what was that? Um, yeah, Michelle said he's telling everyone I'm crazy when I try to leave him alone. Well, that's naturally just, I mean, the smear campaign,
Yes,
and with the smear campaign, you know, uh, you have to be comfortable being the villain in the story,
as you always will be.
as you always will be. And
Mm-hmm.
frankly, you're gonna lose people in your life. They are, there are people that you didn't realize are gonna end up being flying monkeys to the narcissist. Or even if they're not, if they're just people who are on the fence. You know what I can't stand, Trey? People who are on the fence. You know
Mm-hmm.
what? Stick to, like, as far as I'm concerned, if you're not on my side, you're not with me. This,
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna play neutral thing is ridiculous. That means they're
Especially if
supporting the
they're saying that
narcissist.
they believe what you're saying to them. Because I actually did. I had a friend of mine that was a mutual of ours. and she was doing that whole like, oh, I'm Switzerland thing, like I'm not going to choose sides, but she believed my story. Like I could tell she 100% believed everything that I said, and it was just kind of one of those things like, okay, if you really believe and you see all of this stuff yourself, like why would you want to be friends with someone like that? So it's
Yeah.
like I don't know, not choosing a side to me is choosing a side, and if you're not going to, then I am going to choose one for you, and I'm choosing me. So because I'm not gonna have somebody in my life to where I feel like I have to filter everything that I say around them, because what if it gets back to my ex, or wonder
Yeah.
if like they're innocently saying like what I'm up to and all this. I didn't want my ex to know anything about me. Like he lost the right to know anything about my life, about my kids' life, about all that. Like he lost the right for all of that. And I was like, yeah, I don't necessarily trust that things aren't going to go back to that. And why would I want to have somebody in my life like that personally?
Absolutely. By the way, Maddie says, yes, same thing with my family. So what Maddie is dealing with, the aftermath, she has a large family, especially on her father's side. Her father was her narcissist, is her narcissist. Cutting him off completely. I'm even proud of the fact that she calls him by his first name now. She doesn't say dad, she says his first name. And that was a big step for her. But what she's dealing with is all these family members pushing
Yeah.
her to either forgive her father or make some sort of peace with him, even though they know the damage and the abuse that she sustained. And
Mm-hmm.
my feelings about this, Trey. It's like they're just as toxic, but she is
Mm-hmm.
slowly but surely, she is kind of figuring out how to navigate these choppy waters,
Yeah. And it's
but
hard, especially when it's family.
it is hard, but I think she's learning that, at the end of the day, we are some of our biggest weakness is our seeking external validation. We do
Yeah.
not need external validation. All the validation that we need comes from within.
Yeah.
And she doesn't need it from those family members. And if they are going to continue to support her abuser, because he is her abuser, then they are not on her side.
Yeah.
And she
100%.
needs to figure out, what's important to her. I don't pressure her with, as far as she knows my feelings.
Yeah.
Healing can be a very lonely journey. It really is. You have to be confident and comfortable with knowing that you might be the only person who knows the truth about your narcissist. You just might be. And that's a sad position to be in, but it's freedom. It's your freedom.
Yeah. Hey, question. So Anna said that you had permission to talk about what happened when she went to go get her stuff and why she recommended
I'm
somebody
trying
else
to
doing it.
remember what happened. I think, well, there was a situation that occurred where he asked her for a hug. I wonder if she's referring to that. And
Said something
she
about
was
how
strong
he
enough to say,
like, or she,
I'm
what
trying
she
to
was talking about
remember.
on my comments was about how um they where'd the comments go? About essentially how like
I'm
he was trying
trying.
to accuse her of breaking in.
Oh
Does that ring
God,
a bell?
I forget. Yeah, I forget.
And you
I'm
might have
sorry, and I
covered
forget
hers.
that. You have to
I did
remind
have
me,
another.
Anna.
I did have another.
I'm sorry. Yes, hello. What am I talking about? Yes, I thought she was talking. Okay, I was getting confused from the moment when she escaped, she took stuff with her, but she still had stuff that she had to go pick it back up. That's
Yeah,
what she's referring to.
yeah, that's what
Holy
she's talking
crap.
about.
This is what happened. She actually brought a sheriff with her. Okay. And went to the door, knocked on the door. Nobody was there. He accused her, filed a false restraining order against her, accused her of messing with his water, like his the what do you call it, like the water pipe on the outside of the house, the
Her like the
like
water main line.
the water gauge, like, yeah,
Oh,
yes, messing with the main line, and accused her of trying to break in. thank God she had a
to
share.
her own house.
But he, even with that, like yeah, that's what happened. And so she had to go through the process of, following up with the yeah, shutting off the main line is what she was saying. Yeah, like he was out of his mind, and he put that all in the restraining order.
My God.
Yes, it
I
was
did get
absolutely ridiculous.
I got another question. I don't know if she's still on here,
Yeah.
but she said, "How do you let go of your narcissist that doesn't know they are one?" Well, to be honest, most of them either don't know or they'll never admit that they are. So you just do.
Mm-hmm.
Like even like here's the thing. I know that there are, like we have people like Lee and we have people like Ben that are self-aware narcissists and they've, turned their story into a platform to educate and to heal other people like through their own story and, we're not going to get necessarily into all that about people's opinions on it. Some people are for it, some people aren't, but they are the exception to the rule. Like, and they will be the first ones to tell you that. So it's very, very difficult for people who are narcissistic to ever get to the point that these two individuals are at. And so, you just do like, what, when we are asking that question, it's like, well, they don't know. Like, they don't know. I promise you, they know. Like, they know what they're doing. Like, they know how they're treating you. They know what the
Yeah.
manipulation that they're doing. They know that they're cheating. They know they're gaslighting you. They may not put the word narcissist to it, but they know exactly what they're doing. And it's not going to change. And when we're asking that question, what we're doing is it's almost kind of like that phrase that I used to say a lot of like, I mean, it wasn't great, but he wasn't that bad. Well, no, when you really think about it, like he was pretty bad. And when we're doing
Yeah.
that, it's like we're protecting ourselves of the pain that's going to come with accepting who this person really is. And at some point, like regardless if they're ever going to admit who they are or not, you know who they are, and you just have to make that painful transition to accept who they are so you can move on. There's no reason to allow ourselves to be bound to somebody that is very, very unlikely that they are ever going to change. So that's what I would say
Yeah.
to that.
And I would say, I would just piggyback off of that by saying that we often get hung up by the label narcissist, but screw the
Yeah,
label. At
screw the
the end of
label.
the day, abuse is abuse, right?
Yeah.
So how they're treating you is how you judge the situation, and how
Yeah.
you know when you've got to leave. You're never going to get things like accountability from the narcissist. You're never going to get them to admit they're a narcissist. You're never going to get closure. You're never going to get all the things that you want to get. All you need to focus on is getting out in your freedom and keeping
Yeah.
your sanity.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. You
Right.
We do at a point have to learn to let go of that. Like mental healness says, let the abuse be the closure.
Oh,
That
for
is your
sure.
closure.
Yeah. And it's sad
Yeah,
that that
someone.
has to be your closure, because I've made a video about this a long time ago about how we didn't get the privilege of having a healthy breakup. We didn't get the privilege of having closure from this individual where we just
Yes.
naturally grew apart. Like we were trauma bonded, but we were also trauma separated. And,
Yes.
when we keep continually allowing ourselves to stay because we have this like this hope, or even and she even said like they're aware of how they treat me but they keep doing the same thing, like
Hmm.
that's your answer. If you were aware, like flip the script, like if you were aware of things that you were doing that was emotionally harming somebody else, I seriously doubt that you would just continue to do it. Like we would alter our behavior, we would be more sensitive to like what they are sensitive about because we give a damn, but when these people know what they're doing and they continue to do it, that is your message. Like labels aside, it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
It truly is about the behavior, and let the behavior speak for itself. And it's hard, but you have to come to that point where you just get to that place of acceptance and start to move through the pain so you can get on the other side of it, because the longer we avoid it, the longer we're stuck.
Yeah, good point. Absolutely agree with all of that. Um, there's someone who says, covert narcissist who thrives on pity and empathy. Let's see here. How do you deal when they have an outburst and call you evil when you don't give them that food. I think she means supply, and you actually hold them accountable for their behavior. How do you deal when they have an outburst and call you evil? Um, that's basically she's saying that she's currently in this, or I think in the situation and having to deal with like an ongoing narcissistic behavior outburst. Um, I'm going to tell you that's a really hard question because there's a reason we have reactive abuse. It is incredibly hard to gray rock, and it's hard to exist while living with a narcissist. You know, those kinds of outbursts, that rage, that name calling should be your reason for thinking about escaping. You know, that's what you need to be focused on, is getting out of the situation. While you're in it though, I mean, there is I how would you handle that, Trey? Like if you're right in the middle, like do you just it's hard. It's like that I sort of talked about, like restraint earlier. It's incredibly hard to have restraint, you
Yeah.
know, when somebody is screaming in your face.
Well, so, we've talked about there's fight, there's flight, there's freeze, and there's fawn. I was a
Hmm.
freezer. So,
Yeah.
or maybe a little bit of a fawner. But when I was in the middle, God, because I mean, my ex was literally on clockwork about when he would have a rage fit. And, and, one of the things that I did was minimize my experience because he never physically hit me, but it was one of those like, oh, we'd hit the wall, or we'd slam on the counter, or we'd hit we would hit other things that just never happened to make it to my body. And I mean, honestly, that's how I handled it. I just froze and I just waited for it to stop because I knew once it reached that level, there was absolutely nothing that I could do to get it to stop. They had to stop. They had to get whatever was going on in their head and their business, whatever. Like they had to get to the point to where they stopped. Pretty much the only thing that I could do that could get them to stop was I would break down and I would cry. And then I would get that whole like them standing over me like they accomplished their task. So, but for the
Yeah.
most part, I
I
just
guess
waited
we're
it out.
saying there's no winning. There's
There's no
really no
winning. Like
winning. I
no,
mean, you
but
can
you can
try to
do
not engage, you know,
yeah.
try to
I mean,
not
obviously
engage.
the end goal would be to get out of this situation. But if you can't yet for whatever reason, then just do whatever response keeps you safe. If freezing keeps you
I,
safe, then
yeah.
do it. If getting in your car and leaving
Yeah.
keeps you safe, then do it. If, just fawning do whatever keeps you safe, but ultimately get an exit plan. Like,
And
because
she
here's the
said,
thing.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Hmm. Oh, go
It's
ahead.
okay if I go. So, my friend,
Yeah,
like,
go.
she um, explained this so well. It is only going to get worse because every single time they have this rage fit, or every time they always push it like a centimeter more. How much can I get away with from this person? And it's like I remember, but the point where like I started to actually fear for my physical safety because I was backed into a corner, which was a new event in our rage fits that he had. I thought back to like the first one and all the other ones that led up to that. Every time they really did get like a little bit worse. Like at first it was just yelling, and then it was yelling and slammed his phone, and then it was yelling and we slammed our phone, and then we slammed the door on our way out. And then it's like they're not much differences, but there's little bitty things that elevate the level of aggression. And if it's not gotten physical yet, oftentimes that's where it's going to go. And even physical, if you talk to most people that have gone through physical violence from an abuser, they didn't start off ending up in the hospital. It started off as like maybe a backhand or being pushed or like all that it starts, not that any of that is appropriate, but it starts off with small acts. I got away with that. What can I get away with this time? And the more and more that we accept from these people, the more and more dangerous it becomes. So that's why you need to really I don't know how to say this without coming across like, but you have to get to the point where it's like you just acknowledge who this person really is, and that eventually you could be in danger, and no individual is worth that. You should not
Right.
fear the person that is your partner in life. That should not be a thing.
Absolutely. Um, One thing that I was going to say is that she also made the comment that she was trying to hold him accountable. It's not worth
Mm.
it.
Nope.
It's not worth it. You know, like Trey said, your safety, your mental health, that's what matters. Getting out is what matters, not holding them
Yeah.
accountable, because you will never teach them that lesson. You're never
Yeah.
going to teach them a lesson. You know,
Yeah.
they play by their own rules. They live their own life. They live in you know, an alternate reality, you know, where they are the consummate winners. And there's nothing you can do to change that. So there really is no holding them accountable. So I know you think you call them out, like, but even calling them out for cheating, you know, there's a reason that Trey and Lee and Cynthia make these great videos about, like, say for example, catching them cheating. They're just going to blame you for checking their phones, you know, for sneaking into their phone and finding the information, and call you, you know, the person that crossed their boundaries and lied to them, you know, and betrayed them. You know, they're just going to twist it all around. It will always be your fault. You understand? No matter what, it will always be your fault. They make the videos funny because it is kind of funny. It's like you're
Funny because
just
it's
never
true.
going to win. It's
Yeah.
funny because it's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
What do you do if your
exactly.
narcissist closes off, but also puts the blame on you unconsciously? Well, one thing I'll say is they never put the blame on you
Mm,
unconsciously. They know exactly what they're doing.
mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
how would you respond to
And a
that?
silent treatment is a tool. It's a cruelty. Silent treatment is emotional abuse. They're
Yeah,
doing it to specifically hurt you. So you've got to take it that way and realize that they are consciously trying to hurt you and being very
yeah,
cruel at it.
yeah.
Um,
And while we're kind of on that, if anybody that's watching this like ever struggles with the idea of no contact because you feel like it is mean or it is um, the same thing as the silent treatment, they are two totally different things because the difference between
mm-hmm,
silent treatment and no contact is motive. The motive of
mm-hmm,
no contact is to remove toxic and dangerous people from your life. People that have no interest in being supportive, have no interest in doing anything but making posts on social media or saying things to you that are all like these like manipulative tones to get a reaction out of you because they don't care what kind of reaction they get from you, good or bad. They just want a reaction out of you, and then makes them feel like they win. And no contact is something for your healing. Silent treatment is used to manipulate. It's used to abuse. It's used to control you. Like that's what it is, and it's about the motivation from it. And I ended up waiting, probably it was about 5 months after our breakup before I went no contact. And it was because I was like, that's mean. I don't, I'd never really had to do that with somebody before. Like, I don't want them to, like, it just felt hateful to me. But it's not. Like, and it finally just got to the point where it was like every conversation that I had with him, I left it with an anxiety attack. It didn't matter if it was a good or a bad conversation. Every single time I had anxiety talking to that individual. And I'm just like, why am I putting
mm-hmm.
myself through this? And, that's why I tell people, even if you're not at that point where you're ready to go no contact, doing the things like coaching and doing self-care and going to therapy and watching, TikToks and being on these lives, like all that kind of stuff, they're not wasting your time just because you're not no contact yet. Oftentimes that's what can give you the strength to go no contact. So continue to do them, and just remember that no contact and the silent treatment, they're completely two different things. And if anybody tells you otherwise, you need to not listen to them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I've got a lot of comments over here.
Good.
I do want to jump into one real quickly, Trey.
Yeah.
Linda says, my husband for 27 years, now all of a sudden, he's accusing me of cheating and accusing me of all these like things, I think that she's saying. But I think you're thinking what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It's classic projection.
Accusations from a narcissist is the closest thing you can get to a confession.
Pay pay attention, pay close attention to what a narcissist accuses you of. It's the closest thing to a confession you'll ever get.
Yep.
It's the
100%.
truth. I see other people are actually saying the same thing in this thread of comments here. Linda, that may be extremely difficult for you to hear. And I'm sorry, it's easy for me to say that and for it to roll off my tongue. I don't mean to say that callously. Care about you deeply and would love to talk this out. If you're in a situation where you need some additional help, please reach out. Both Trey and I are coaches and mentors. You can find our information directly in our bio. But we are here for you during this healing journey. This is a difficult time. I definitely do specialize in escapes. So I help with logistics in any way, shape, or form to help you get out of the scenario that you might be in. But if you're not ready for that, that's understandable. I know also with coaching, and Trey, maybe you can explain a little more about how you work, but I usually work with clients who are either ready to leave or have just left and are still maybe trapped in the trauma bond. I don't often, if you're not ready to leave yet, that's not really my forte. I'm usually there, but if you are ready to get out and you feel it, I'm definitely 100% available for that.
Yeah. And
And
just so everybody knows, I work a lot. If I had to have a specialty, I would probably say that what I coach the most on is breaking the ruminating cycle and the obsessive thinking cycle, where you're already out of it, but it's just that phase where it's just like you can't stop thinking about them, you can't stop fighting that urge of like wanting to unblock them and see what they're posting on social media, or you are having trouble going no contact, anything involved with the ruminating cycle. If I had to, I guess that would probably be it, because that was that's kind of what my workbook that I have is really based on. But as far as like what phase people are in, I work mostly with people that are recently out, or they're just out in general. And it's a mixture of people that are trying to not go back. There are people that have maybe not been in the relationship with this person for a long time, and again, they just feel stuck. So I'm willing to really work with anybody, but I would probably say what I'm not the best resource for is exit strategies. Kelly's much better at that than I am. I didn't have an exit strategy. I just told him to get out of my house. And the other one was co-parenting. I can give very basic knowledge on co-parenting with a narcissist. Fortunately, I am not someone that's dealt with that. Kelley deals with that as well. There's also several great coaches, like La Disco Mama. She's great when it comes to co-parenting. She's a great coach for that too. Those are probably the two things that I'm not personally the best resource for, and I would rather tell you that than waste your time and money. But definitely stuck obsessive thinking cycle, just that whole I feel stuck thing for sure.
Hey, Trey, before we jump into another question, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be interested in guest speaking at my support group again sometime soon?
I would love to. Yes, I would
You're
love to.
you're in high demand. You're in high demand. So, and you really
That's
blew me
very
away.
flattering.
And also, I really
I
felt
cried the
like we
last
were
time.
a little rushed. What?
I said I cried the last time.
Oh my no, it was so
I was like,
fantastic.
ugh, ew.
It was so real, Rod. Ooh, feelings. Ah.
Ew.
Well, I felt like we were a little bit rushed, and I'm kind of adjusting the structure of my group so that I can make sure that the platform really does allow for the guest speaker to have the time that they are due. And I felt like it was a little bit rushed with you towards the end. We can talk about this a little bit more offline,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I
No, I
just
would love
I
to.
just wanted to propose it to you here and now.
No, I would totally love that.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Um, all right. I know there's more comments here. So, okay, let's address this because it's a necessary situation, and we were just kind of talking about co-parenting. Mel Bell 862 says, so what happens when I can't go no contact because I have to co-parent with the narcissist? And we had mentioned this in the beginning, and this is really about going low contact. You can go gray rock and go low contact. See, the difference here is you really want to learn how to emotionally disassociate from the narcissist. And this is where, honestly, coaching comes into play big time. Because to help you break that trauma bond, find yourself. Trey was talking a lot about self care earlier, but finding yourself and the strength to realize who you are as a person and discover your identity, and also reestablish your connection with your intuition,
Right.
because you really do that. I mean, learning to love yourself and having that connection with your intuition will tighten your bond with yourself, and you can trust yourself. It will help you release that addiction to the narcissist and
Mm.
help you emotionally disassociate. And there are a lot of steps you can take to do that. But real quickly, though, low contact looks like gray rocking. It looks like, when you're talking about tactical steps, we're talking about communicating through, like, my family wizard, holding them accountable for the words that they say. It's short, almost near robotic responses, emotionless responses, because showing any type of emotion gives the narcissist supply. So it's like not communicating with them other than content that revolves around the kids. Any
Yep.
other comments can be ignored completely, 100%. Even the communication around the kids, 90% of the time, can be responded in 5 words or less. It's things like that. It's almost, over time, I've seen that you can almost, this sounds crass, but you can almost train your narcissist like a dog. You really can. Um, Once they start to see that you're not giving them the supply that they need, they'll stop seeking it. And then, frankly, they'll start seeking it elsewhere. You do
Yep.
have, now, this doesn't include, there are some malignant narcissists out there that, hell, they just don't stop coming at you. They don't. But I think a lot of the time, you can, you know, train your narcissist a bit. I don't know if you agree with that, Trey,
No, I would
but
agree.
okay.
And
But you
keep
can
as
do
much
that.
communication written as possible.
That's, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot to mention that. Exactly. We're talking no voice communication. Seriously. These people are master manipulators. They get you on the phone or in person. They're going to be able to twist your head around. We're only human. We're only human. We're not robots. We aren't robots. So we can still be manipulated by the narcissist. That's why we have to take, proactive action to not put ourselves in that vulnerable spot. So keeping it to written and text communication and email communication is absolutely key.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
So
think
hopefully that's
it's
helpful.
starting to wind down a little bit on my end. Do you have any other comments and stuff before
Yeah.
wrap
Let's
up?
see here. I can see we've got a bunch of messages here. Side jobs, getting real. Oh, healing tips is on. Do you know who Charles is? Healing underscore tips. He's
I don't
amazing.
think
He's
so.
like, he's the best. You'll have to check out his content.
Okay,
He's
I will.
awesome, and he's always jumping on, and he just says the most, like, high value, quality comments. They're just great. They're very supportive and encouraging, and they're just great comments. Like, for example, he says, I treat co-parenting like a 9 to 5. Clock in, do what you have to do, clock out. Kid talk
Yeah.
only.
Yep.
Exactly. You're not going to say, yeah. We've got a lot of comments here. Not it's constant roller coaster, using your son to control you. Um, let's see. Linda 33167 says, "I need your help. I am ready." We are both here for you, Linda. Both of us have, um, we're both coaches and mentors, and you can find our information through the link in our bio. But we are both available for you. I think Linda might be the one who we discussed has the husband of 27 years. I believe
Yeah, I think so.
that's her.
Yeah.
Hmm. I think that's wonderful that you're ready. We're
But
definitely
I
here
was
to
just
support
about to say,
you.
the fact that you're at that point after 27 years of that, like, that's a really big decision to come to. So you go for it, girl. And we're here for you.
Rosa says, once I started my spiritual journey and healing, I realized I was with a complete stranger. And, we really are.
Yes.
We are. We fabricated that person, that we have to hold ourselves accountable. We fell into the trap, but we ate it up. We ate it up.
Yeah.
We made this person exactly who they became. Because you know what?
Yeah.
They were mirroring our great qualities, right? And so we were falling in love with ourselves.
Yeah.
So we kind of let it happen as well. We have to hold ourselves accountable. And see, and this is also why I talk about the 4 steps to healing, and the first one
Sorry if you
being,
hear my puppy.
yeah, you're your new puppy,
Yeah.
puppy. Well, the second step is therapy,
Just
and
ignore
therapy helps you figure out, uh, your puppy.
it. Come here. You've already made a scene. Everybody knows you're here. Everybody already knows.
Let's see, let's
Get my
see.
puppy.
Oh my gosh, is that a little corgi?
Yeah.
Oh my god, puppy corgis
She's
are the cutest.
they're adorable. I've had one before, and she just, as you can
Oh,
tell, she just has to be the center of attention all the time, all the time.
oh my goodness. How the kids, were they surprised? How was
Oh my
that?
gosh, they are obsessed with her, and they do so good with her too. Are you
Oh,
done? You got
really?
your spotlight fixed? You're good. Okay, bye. She got her spotlight. She's good to go now.
Okay, fabulous.